Peppermints? No, not peppermints. All right, Proverbs. Announcements? No, we'll take announcements at the end.
No. Those are only at church.
Okay. Literary term. Personification. What does that mean? No? You don't want to give me the definition, Elliot?
Taking an innate object and giving it a person.
Yeah.
A UFO.
Uniform. It's also anthropomorphism, something where you're taking something that is an abstract concept or image or idea and treating it with human traits or like a human. That is what we are doing in chapter 8. The concept is that you are reading about wisdom as if wisdom was a person. Is wisdom a person? No, we're not. This is a literary device, and the proverb writer, most likely Solomon, is using this to teach about wisdom as if wisdom is speaking directly to you. Is this the first time we have done this in the book of Proverbs? No. I've got a note, say Proverbs 1 and 20. First chapter, in verse 20, it says, Wisdom crieth without, she uttereth her voice in the streets, she crieth in the chief place of concourse, in the opening gates, in the city she uttereth her words. And then she goes on, really for the rest of that chapter, to be the voice that's speaking. And so you have wisdom in this very public, widely available area is, calling out to people to seek her, and yet they're not going to, and they're not. And so when their calamity comes upon them, she's going to laugh.
Is wisdom always talked about in the female?
In Proverbs it is. Yep. Yes, sir?
That verse goes right with your sermon.
Okay.
Exodus 27.
Exodus 20 and verse 7. Okay. And this was about the sermon this morning? Okay. Well, let's look at that real quick. You are absolutely right, sir. All right, so we were talking about serving in God's name. Connor has gone to Exodus 20, which is when God is giving verbally on Mount Sinai the Ten Commandments. And verse 7, it says, Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Sometimes we think about that and we limit it to just cursing. When you are saying something vile or something, even a substitute, right? If you hit your hand with a hammer, and instead of saying Jesus something, you go Jeez, right? You're substituting it. We know what you're referring to. That would be an example of taking his name in vain. But another would be taking his name upon you and saying, I am his follower. And then I don't live in a way that matches up to his name, right? That would be a vain display of his name, right? Something that's in worthless conduct. So yeah, there are ways we could talk about that further, Connor, but that's true. Not to take his name in vain. All right. So back to Proverbs 8, wisdom. So it started off the book with one being personified as a character, as an individual speaking. It also showed up again back in chapter 7, remember? That the individual, the son that's being spoken to, is say unto wisdom, Thou art my sister, and call understanding thy kinswoman, that they may keep thee. So there you've got two characters personified. One is wisdom, one is understanding. And what is the speaker being told to say? You're like family. You're my sister. You're my kinswoman. You're my cousin. Like we're close. We're tight. We are related. Right? We have that imagery of, if you're walking down the road with those two, they'll help keep you out of trouble. Right, Elizabeth? All right. Okay. So, verse 1, doth wisdom cry and understanding put forth her voice? All right, so those are both questions. We go back to chapter 1 and she is. She's publicly crying. Right? This is not secret. Right? The wisdom that's contained in this book, it's not in mystery form. It's not in hieroglyphs. You don't have to have someone come in with a decoder ring. It's there. Right? Doth wisdom cry and understanding put forth her voice? So the answers are yes. Okay? And then also it confirms that with verse 2. She standeth in the top of the high places, by the way in the places of the paths. By the way in the places of the path. She crieth at the gates, at the entry of the seats, at the coming in at the doors. All right. You have all the places that in the midst of a city you would pass. All right. How do you get into a city? Through the gate. How do you get to your house in the city?
Through the door.
Down the path to the door. All right. High places. All right. All over the city, she's there. All right. What is she crying? Well, if you want to put quotation marks starting at verse 4, this is now her speaking. I like to put the little quotation marks when there's someone speaking in Scripture. It helps me keep up when there's a dialogue, particularly when God's talking to a prophet. When God says to prophet, you say this, and part of it will be, thus saith the Lord God. And so you've got God speaking to a man about what he's got to say to the people, where God's speaking and the man speaks. And so kind of keeping track with those little quotations can help. So here's what wisdom's saying. Unto you, O men, who's she speaking to? O men, right? Just like when we're studying Psalms, when you have that O, Elizabeth. O is a key for telling you who the audience is. Who am I addressing? O men. Unto you, O men, I call. And my voice is unto the sons of man. All right. She is calling. Is she calling to every creature under the sun? No. Men. Is she calling out to God? No. God's already got it. All wisdom. All right. So this is for man's benefit. All right. Mankind. O ye simple, understand wisdom. All right. Who are they talking to? She's talking to the simple. Right? O ye simple, they are men, but these are simple men, right? Naive, understand wisdom. And ye fools, be ye of an understanding heart. All right, that's what you need to get to. Verse 6, hear, for I will speak of excellent things, and the opening of my lips shall be right things. All right, excellent things. Princely, all right? High value. The chief, the best, all right? Is wisdom going to give you the low gutter trash? No. Is it going to be crooked or distorted? No. This is the best of the best. This is right. This is pure. So you need to hear. Yeah, listen. For my mouth shall speak truth, and wickedness is an abomination to my lips. Nothing that wisdom, real wisdom, now there is a concept called earthly wisdom that's discussed in James, where you've got wisdom from above, which is wisdom from God, that which is true and right, which has fruit that goes with that, being easily entreated, easy to ask questions, peaceable, all the fruits of the Spirit, right? And then there's an earthly wisdom that is cantankerous and causes strife and division and heartache. So we're talking about true wisdom here, God's wisdom. All right? Wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All right? All that my mouth shall speak is truth. All the words of my mouth, verse 8, are in righteousness. There is nothing froward, which means twisted, or perverse, which is distorted. All right? Wisdom of this world right? The intellect of this world, it's all going to be twisted. It's all going to be distorted. And so, uprightness, just that. It's straight. It's upright, right? If you have ever tried to build and you didn't have a level, how good are you at eyeballing it? Not good, right? That's not our specialty as men. We need a standard that shows us what is truly upright. The plumb line that shows what's going upright, what's the level, showing what's straight. Wisdom from God is that, right? Because it is based on what is actually true. All right. They are all plain to him that understandeth, and right to them that find knowledge. What's they? What's the subject that pronoun they is referring to? Got to go back to the previous verse. All the words of my mouth. So the words of my mouth are plain to him that understandeth. Right? It makes sense when you understand. And right to them that find knowledge. So an understanding individual and those who have knowledge, it will make sense and it will be right. So the instruction then is receive my instruction. So you got hear, receive my instruction, and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things that may be desired are not to be compared to it. All right, 10 and 11 are value statements. Now that you want to close the doors back there. Elizabeth is having an attitude adjustment. Just a tad, She's been on a roll today. All right, value statement. When you think about the value of wisdom, if you were given the choice between wisdom and a bag full of silver, many people would choose silver. But wisdom here is saying, which is better? Wisdom. Well, what about choice gold? Not even just kind of, like mall necklace gold, but like the good gold, the pure stuff, the high end. If you had really good gold, right, with knowledge, which would be better? Yeah, wisdom and knowledge. Wisdom is better than rubies. And then the catch-all. All the things that may be desired. Whatever it is that you think is worth desiring, wisdom is better. It's not even to be compared to it. All right? So, do you and I value the pursuit of godly wisdom high enough? Probably not. All right? Any questions about this? Oh, that was one. You good?
It's like between the lottery ticket and wisdom.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody who would be having a lottery ticket would be able to give you wisdom.
Well,
Maybe I'm not using it.
The wisdom
if someone just handed you the winning lottery ticket, you didn't even have to buy it, and you had the choice between that and this ticket's worth $50 million or wisdom, what would you choose? Most people would, right? That's human knowledge making that discernment, right? It's leaning on your own heart and your own understanding. What is the beginning of wisdom? Fear of the Lord, right? Fear, reverence, awe, respect, a desire to serve Him, to be devoted to Him, all right? So, I, wisdom, dwell with prudence, all right? Do y'all remember the Pilgrim's Progress? When they made it to such and such's house and the daughters were there, wisdom, and what was the other sister's name? Prudence. That's where they got this from. The whole thing's an allegory. What does prudence mean? It means discretion. All right? Understanding. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence and find out knowledge of witty inventions. All right. Is the word inventions normally used in a positive context in the Bible? No. Almost always it has the idea of plots and craft and, you go read the summary of what the world was like before the flood. Their evil imaginations, that kind of concept of where their pursuit of what they want and their wicked ways. There's a lot of scheming, right? You think about politics and all the schmarminess. All right. Wisdom and prudence find out knowledge of witty inventions. You can see that, right? The wise man sees the evil and hides himself, right? You can use wisdom and discernment on avoiding falling into traps. All right, verse 13. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil. All right, we talked earlier, the beginning of wisdom and the beginning of knowledge is the fear of the Lord. Well, what all does the fear of the Lord include? One aspect of it is if you fear the Lord like He does, you hate evil. You hate it in what you do, and you hate being around it, and you don't want to associate with it. Pride and arrogancy and the evil way and the froward mouth do I hate. Why do I have an issue with most of the things that you find for entertainment today? Because they frame these traits as if they're good. Or they make light of it, making fun of it, and it's not. It's something to be abhorred, right? Pride, arrogancy, all right? Looking to yourself, you're better, right? This whole, I can look down my nose, I'll find somebody who's worse than me. The evil way, the path of wickedness, the froward mouth, that distorted mouth. Do I hate? Now, who's I there? Wisdom. Wisdom. Fear of the Lord is to hate evil. Those are all things that she chooses to hate. All right? Are those things that you should copy? No, not to copy. Are those traits that you should value in your leaders? No. All right? This is rubber meeting the road stuff at our time. And I'll just be blunt. There is a lot of folks who are really enamored with our president and think he's an awesome guy. But he demonstrates a lot of these things. He's not someone that I want to copy. And frankly, I hope the Lord get the hold of him. He may shake things up, and it's not a political discourse, but we need to be careful about who we serve as our models. People that we look up to, we tend to start acting like. So, same for young people. Choose your role models wisely. All right. Counsel is mine, sound wisdom. I am understanding, I have strength. All right. Again, we're talking about the value of wisdom. What all comes in the package with wisdom? If you've got wisdom, you can give good counsel. It belongs to her. Sound wisdom as opposed to unsound, right? Sound means wholesome, complete, whole. This is that heavenly wisdom as opposed to earthly wisdom, which is the difference between taking medicine that does good and taking poison if it's labeled as medicine, right? One is going to be harmful, right? The wisdom of the world causes pain and harm. Sound wisdom, I am understanding, I have strength. By me, kings reign and princes decree justice. So good kings who reign well possess wisdom, right? That's how they decree justice. They are largely have the kind of court function wrapped up in a monarch with the princes. They're having to give verdicts among cases. Well, how do you do that well? Wisdom, right? By me princes rule and nobles, even all the judges of the earth, right? So, verse 17, I love them that love me. Again, who's our audience? Or who's the speaker?
Wisdom.
Still wisdom. All right? People who value wisdom will get more out of wisdom.
That's right.
Okay? Those who seek me early will find me. All right? Again, we're not talking about Jesus in this context. We're talking about wisdom speaking. So, those who value wisdom and seek wisdom are much more likely to find it. Versus, like in chapter 1, where it's They don't value wisdom. They don't seek it. They do exactly what they want to do. They get into hard times and they go, wisdom, oh, how can I get out of this? And it says wisdom's going to laugh because you're bearing the consequence for your foolish decisions. Okay?
Just like when you get in trouble.
Yeah. All right. 18. Riches and honor are with me, yea, durable riches and honor. Okay? Now, some folks take that first step. Oh, if I got wisdom, man, I'm going to have money, I'm going to have power, I'm going to have fame, it's going to be great. I'll be the next Joe Osteen. Right? Mm-hmm. Not that kind of riches. Durable riches. All right? What are we to store up in heaven where moth does not corrupt and thieves do not break forth and steal? Treasure in heaven, right? Doing what's right because it's right pleases who? The Lord. Yeah. That's what it's talking about, right? You learn to do what's right. And that, that is a durable riches. And do you have an inheritance, prepared to you that's far greater than any value or anything here?
Yes.
Yeah. And so this is recognizing that, right? My fruit is better than gold, yea, than fine gold, my revenue than choice silver. All right? Fruit and revenue, both of these terms are for increase, that which is produced. All right? If you plant a bunch of trees, what do you expect, fruit trees, what do you expect to be able to harvest? Fruit, right? Well, wisdom here is like a tree. Down the road, the things that you are harvesting are good. It says it's better than gold. Right?
Planted by the water.
So not only is wisdom itself of great value, consequences later from wisdom, things that's produced by using that wisdom, are also of great value. And here we've got it illustrated as durable riches. My revenue or gains, your revenue is your cash flow, is better than choice silver. Right? And again, it's this top tier elements of gold and silver that are being used to illustrate this. Verse 20. I lead in the way of righteousness in the midst of the paths of judgment. All right. In your mind's eye, I want you to see a path before you. And now I want you to look over here and see 15 other paths. Another 15 paths over here. And you're at the one little crossroad, and you got to choose which path. Well, there's one path of righteousness. There's one way of righteousness. And there's a lot of paths that lead to judgment, to heartache, to chastening, to discipline, right? Paths, those tend to be broad and well paved, right?
That's really short path.
Paths, yeah. Which one, wouldn't it be nice to have a guide? Yeah. I lead in the way, as in you get to follow, right? If you're tagging along after wisdom, if you're pursuing after wisdom, you're taking the right path. And that's the path of righteousness, which is the fear of the Lord, which is to hate all evil. All right? Why am I leading? That I may cause those that love me to inherit substance, and I will fill their treasuries. What will the meek inherit?
Kingdom.
The earth. Meek shall inherit the earth. This corrupted earth? No. An upgrade. Right? One that cannot be shaken. Right? The new heaven and new earth.
But don't you also think, though, in the context of if you follow wisdom, most of the time that does lead to not to wealth, but to better outcomes than if you don't choose wisdom.
Yes. Yes, there are practical benefits if you're applying and seeking wisdom, that you will avoid a lot of expensive pitfalls. Yes, that is true. All right, that's kind of the first section in Proverbs 8. All right, long section, first section. Now we're going to be wisdom still speaking, but we've got a new subject matter, and it's going to be discussing the Lord's relationship with wisdom. All right, so starting in verse 22, really down to 31. It's your second section. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old. That expression, his works of old, as you'll see from what follows, is referring to creation. All right? The Lord already had wisdom. Right? He's omnipotent. He knows all things. He had wisdom and possessed it in the beginning of his way. All right? So there are some things that God did before his works. All right? And so you can describe that even back then, the beginning of his way of when he is starting to do things. All right? Choosing a people, giving it to his son, right? Ordaining that his son would come into the world, right? All that's before the foundation of the world events, all right? Wisdom was already there and possessed by the Lord, right? I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the earth was, all right? Those who don't believe in evolution, what's the modern term for that? They believe in intelligent design, right? Yeah. But that's just such a small little, kind of inadequate description. More than just intelligent. I mean, it's God's wisdom for how he laid everything out perfectly before he did the first thing. It was there. Wisdom was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the earth was, before the earth even was. When there was no depths, what was the depths? The sea, right? In the beginning was God, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the deep, right? So you've got God created the heavens and the earth. It sounds like that first event there is you've got, the sphere of the earth, and it's covered with water, and you're first introduced to it when his Spirit is moving upon the face of the water, right? It's without form and void. There was nothing. It wasn't habitable, all right? When there were no depths. So before then, wisdom was still there. I was brought forth, all right? The first thing to be displayed was wisdom. When there were no fountains abounding with water. Before the mountains were settled, all right? When you've got just the ball of water, and you're going to separate the water from the dry land, you've got to pull dry land, pull these mountains up. I was there before then. You kind of get into, glimpse back into creation and see it from a little bit different angle. Before the hills was I brought forth. While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, all right, so we're talking about dry land, nor the highest part of the dust of the world, all right, so he hadn't made the tallest mountain peaks yet. All right? Wisdom is already there. When he prepared the heavens, all right? Think about that. Heavens, he was preparing them. Before he prepared them, I was there. When he set a compass on the face of the depth. All right? You've got the circle upon the face of the deep. When he established the clouds above. When he strengthened the fountains of the deep. So at one point there were no fountains of the deep. Then there are fountains. Then he made them stronger. Later in Noah's time he's going to break up the fountains of the deep. And all this water is going to gush up and flood the earth. Why hadn't they broken up before? Because he had strengthened them and he was holding them. It wasn't the time yet. When he gave to the sea his decree that the waters should not pass his commandment. When he appointed the foundations of the earth. All right, why do the ocean waves not just keep on going? Because he said, this is as far as you can go. When he appointed the foundations of the earth. Then I was by him, as one brought up with him, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him, rejoicing in the habitable parts of the earth, and my delights were the sons of men. All right, so here you've got the idea of God is rejoicing in wisdom, right? He made everything good and very good. It was made perfect. God did make us, that's right. And daily was a delight. His wisdom was on display, and it was well pleasing, right? Rejoicing in the habitable parts of the earth. Like the earth is now habitable. It's been formed. It's ready for creatures to dwell in, and specifically men, right? That's who she's calling out to. And my delights were in the sons of men, right? Wisdom was there delighting in mankind. Okay? So this is 22 through 31 is all this history. How long has wisdom been around? From the beginning, right? Yeah, God had it, used it, displayed it, delighted in it, and now it's being directed towards the sons of men. So, now therefore, because of all that, because of the value of wisdom, because I'm crying out in the public places, right? Now therefore, hearken unto me, which means to listen. Who? Oh, you children, right? Children have room to grow, right? Any of y'all got room to grow? Me too, all right? For blessed are they that keep my ways, all right? We've been talking generally about wisdom. Now here's again a practical benefit. If you're listening, there is a blessing. There is good things that are associated with keeping the wisdom's ways. Hear instruction, and be wise, and refuse it not. Hearken, keep, hear, refuse it not. Blessed is the man, happy is the man that heareth me, watching daily at my gates, waiting at the post of my doors. All right? She's out publicly in the streets or whatever, calling out at Lord, but who is the blessed man? The one that's looking for her, right? Going to her house, to her gate, watching daily, looking for opportunities to know more, to seek more. That person is blessed. For whosoever findeth me findeth life, and findeth favor of the Lord, right? You're fearing the Lord, and you're serving Him, and you're seeking His wisdom, right? These are good things. This will positively benefit your life, and you will avoid a lot of foolish pitfalls. Elizabeth, it is important to obey. But he that sinneth against me, so this is the counterpoint, the one who is not, he that sinneth against me, wrongeth his own soul. All they that hate me love death, whether they realize it or not. Right? What is the wages of sin? Death. Right? And so if you hate God's wisdom, you will be actively pursuing sin, pursuing the lust of the flesh and the pride of the eyes. Right? Going your own way. I'm going to do it my way, come hell or high water. It's what I want. Right? Who are you wronging? Yourself. You're sinning against your own soul, your own life. Right? These are those natural consequences that the Lord puts in place for you choosing to rebel against Him and His way. Right? You will find often that you walked into heartache and misery and consequences that can last for generations. Right? Whosoever findeth me findeth life. All right, are we talking about regeneration here? No. All right. Finding life here means you found a path of life, right? You are less likely to be walking into the booby trap and the poison darts and all the heartache. David, you listened? Whosoever me findeth life and shall obtain favor of the Lord. But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. All that hate me love death. All right, so that's the end of 8, and that's the end of wisdom speaking. But this theme is going to continue in chapter 9. So as you're reading 9 this week, it's still going to be the subject of wisdom, again personified, describing things that she does, and then she will be speaking for a good portion of that chapter as well. Any questions on chapter 8? Are we seeing there's a lot more narrative to Proverbs than we maybe first look at? Because it's easy to kind of think about Proverbs and see, well, here's a couple verses, and then you stop, and here's a couple verses.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right. That's right.
But, really, chapter 1, really all the way through 9 is one kind of big thought. I'd say through the end of 9, because at chapter 10 it starts with the Proverbs of Solomon, and then it kind of begins a new section. Well, how did chapter 1 start? Proverbs of Solomon. So we kind of look for those patterns to see when do we have section breaks, when do we have different topics. The repeated my son, forget not, or my son, hear, that tends to be a new topic within this one section of Proverbs of Solomon. So you've got kind of the big picture, 1 through 9, and then subsections within that, different themes and thoughts. Sometimes finding the big picture makes the little pictures easier to understand.